And then there's the other days that you're like, well, it was just a lather, rinse, repeat kind of day. I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad. It was just a day. But I'd be like, hold on, where did you like find a little bit of like joy or gratitude? I'd say, oh, that's right. That person stopped by my desk who told me that joke and it was really funny. And so there it was. And then there's the dark days, right? It's the dark of the night. And you do not feel anything that resembles joy, gratitude, happiness. And in fact, it seems really rude that I'm looking for that in the darkness. And what I found was um, it was always an internal job at that point. And one of them, might be like, oh my gosh, I'm really grateful. Sometimes I couldn't use the word happy. I'm really grateful that this happened, or I saw this, or my cat purred extra loud by my ear and it soothed my heartbeat a little bit. And so those little moments. And so I ended up doing it for 100 days, was super happy about this practice. And then when it showed up in my Facebook memories again the next year, I thought, well, maybe I need it again.
Welcome back to the Rooted Within podcast. Today's conversation is one that feels both grounded and full of light, all at the same time. This morning, I'm sitting down with Debbie Brannon, coach, facilitator, and someone who has this beautiful way of helping people reconnect with themselves with both honesty and joy. We talk about what it really looks like to navigate change, how joy can exist alongside of hard seasons, and the importance of creating space to pause and to breathe. If you've been feeling stretched, overwhelmed, or maybe just a little disconnected, I think this conversation might meet you right where you are. So I have to tell you, I cherish who you are as a person, as a friend, as one of our facilitators at retreat, and the work that you did, I have carried long past, which I want to jump in with you. But before we even go that far, I would love, for those of you who don't know you, I would love you to just give us a glimpse of the Debbie Brannon outside of the retreat space so our guests can get to know who you are.
Sure. So I live in the Pacific Northwest and I truly feel like I'm a Pacific Northwest girl. And in my the work that I do, it's all around helping people like to do their job better, to walk through life a little easier. Like how can I either open doors or give them tools? So I have a day job where I do organizational development and leadership development, which keeps me very, very busy. But outside of that, I do it in private practice as well, where I do coaching and consulting with leaders and people. Originally, it was going to be just leaders and just leadership topics, but it turns out that really, really, we just need to be humans first. So, really, most of my clients and the work I do usually circles around mindset, leadership, and transitions. For some reason, that just seems to be how that's culminated.
I love that. You know, you brought such a realness and such a presence, not only to me, but to our guests. And I just love how you walk with a true joy
Yeah.
in the work that you do and what you're able to bring to others. So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Let me ask you what drew you to this specific niche in
Mm.
and bring to us. What was that moment?
I mean, I think initially at the very beginning, honestly, Vicky, it was because you asked, because it was Vicky. And I was like, your heart is so out there. I mean, just in the world is so open. And I thought, oh my gosh, she trusts, I'll do anything that she wants me to do. But then your mission and the work that you're doing is so incredibly intentional. And I was like, I was so drawn to it. It was a little overwhelming maybe for a moment thinking, well, how could I add to this world in this space?
Mm.
With the important work that Vicky is doing. And I thought, okay, well, let's go in and let's see what we can do. And at the end of the day, it just reconfirmed what I keep running into is that people are just people first. And so, regardless of where you are in your journey, we all have needs, we all have fears, we all need a little help. And if I can help a little bit, I would love to do that.
Will you share, for those who weren't at the retreat, will you share those key highlights that you brought to our guests? Because it was so pivotal and I couldn't do it justice. Uh, you were so intentional with your words, and our room was filled with such emotion and history and stories and
Mhm.
life lived. And I know that was a big ask for you,
Mhm.
big ask to step into that role where you are walking caregivers and parents and those who have carried a lot on their shoulders and in their heart. And you stepped into that beautifully and you guided us beautifully. Would you mind sharing just a few of, things that you felt were so pivotal
Yeah.
uh, in the work that you do, but also that you wanted those women in the room to be able to walk away with?
Sure. Um, I'll probably start with when I was putting my thoughts together onto, how I was going to talk to it. I wanted to set the stage, and I kept having this vision that kept coming into my eyes around a greenhouse. And which is funny because I'm not a gardener. And so, I mean, and so it was really kind of funny. So I kept picturing a greenhouse because a greenhouse is intended to like plant the seeds and put them indoors where they are protected and safe and they're at the right temperature and they get the light that they need and they're watered and nourished until until it's like safe or the right season to go put them out in the wild where they belong, until they're strong enough to survive and thrive. And so I brought that in initially just to set the stage of like creating this experience as that weekend was to bring them in. They get to be in the greenhouse, not as a gardener this time, but to be the seed that's planted and protected and kept warm. And we pour light on them before they go back out to do the really important and hard work that they do. So that was one of the first things I brought in, because I just couldn't stop thinking about we can't fix people's life situations, fears, but can we do something to nourish them and strengthen their root system a little bit more? So that was one of the things I brought in to kind of set the tone of where I wanted to go. And then the other piece that was a large chunk of what I spent time on, was around the and joy and like all capital letters and joy, and to talk to people to remind us that no matter whatever path we're on, whatever we're experiencing, it doesn't have to be this or that. Like I'm in fear and that's the only thing I can be. I can have fear and hope. And so I talked a lot about the things that you can do to live in the paradox of like, I can be in grief and feel love. I can be angry and still get this sense of relief is coming, or I have friendships. And so I did a lot of work to tie in the and that I think we need to do in a really polarized world right now that says there's not a lot of ands, there's a lot of ors. So I think those were the two. Oh, there's one more um that comes to mind, and it was around the sunflower again. funny that I'm talking about plants and because it's not my gift to the world. But because I likened us to being a sunflower, because sunflowers, when you plant them and they're in the ground and they're growing and their flowers there, they all day long, they are following the sun and they're, the head of their plant, the face is following the sun and following the light. And what happens to them at night when it's dark? And so they kind of bow their heads down a little bit. And but what they do is they reorient themselves to the east because they know, or the instinct is to know that even after the darkest of nights, the sun will rise again. And so those were, I think, my three main areas that I wanted to really have people walk away with.
So special. And I love that you tapped into gardening, even though you claim to have a green thumb, because that ties so beautifully into rooted within.
Yes.
And as this was coming to life itself, it was that exact, message of the importance of being able to grow our roots deep
Right.
so we can withstand the strongest of storms and the windiest of days and the darkest of nights. When our roots are deep, we're able to stand a little taller, a little stronger. We may bend and blow, yet our roots are what, are our anchor.
Right.
And so your message was so beautifully aligned without us really even talking about it.
Yeah.
Your message for our guests was so beautifully aligned about the tools that lie within us
Oh, yeah.
and not needing to rely on anything other than going inward
Right.
uh, to discover that inner strength and that inner peace, even in the darkest and the stormiest of
Yes.
times. And I know you've also experienced the darkest and the stormiest of times. Uh, and so it's almost, I always say it's that privilege as humans that come along with all of the joys
Yeah.
are also sometimes the heartaches. And so, how can we equip ourselves to build that foundation strong
Yeah.
so we don't fall over or get swept away in the storms? So we know how to hold on
Yeah.
and and your message was so beautifully uh, aligned to that, and that gift that you brought to all of us about it lies within.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I picture like in the middle of the night, you wake up and it's the darkest of nights. And what are you going to reach for? And let's reach within a little bit more. What are the things that I have access to as I'm just here in this moment? Is it my breath? Is it something I can see or feel or hear? That gives me that right?
Mm.
I'm awake in the middle of the night because I'm super stressed out. And I know that I can take a breath. Just
Mm.
maybe slow the chatter down. Or I know that I can look around the room and go, oh my gosh, that picture on the wall that I hung that is, meaningful to me, that brings me joy. Yeah.
What would you say during challenges in your life? What is your go-to tool
Mm.
you could share with our guests to help equip their toolbox? Because it's different in different homes, right? And you mentioned waking up in the middle of the night with stress, or perhaps sleeping in a chair in the hospital next to a loved one. What is one of those main things that you reach for personally when you come across those things?
There's probably a couple I've learned. I have not always done this really well, but work in progress. Well,
We
one
all
of them I try to do, I would say breath is probably the most important. But the other thing that I do in addition to like trying to catch my breath is I just need to get myself back in my body again. Because if I'm swirling around in my head, anxious and fearful or angry or whatever, insert the emotion here, I'm not really connected even to my body. And so I'll do a couple of things, and it's one of them is like just touch. And I try to go through and focus on like, can I feel each of my fingers? Great. That's pretty easy. But then I'm like, sit here and close your eyes. Can you feel each one of your toes individually? And so I'm suddenly like super hyper focused. I'm like, well, there's a big toe and there's a little toe. How do I? And I'm just literally trying to bring myself back inside of me instead of swirling wherever the heck I've gone. And it is a huge distractor as I'm going through. And it's a little, and honestly, sometimes it's super frustrating because I'm like, oh, I can't tell this toe from this toe. But I'm getting out of my head
Yes.
and back into my body. And then, using other tools. And I'd say the other one is I need to get outside. I need to get inside. Although in the middle of the night, I don't know where you live. So,
Good point. Very
right,
good.
but they're not that. I mean, so like
Yeah.
this is that in the moment I'm driving in the car and I'm stressed, or I'm laying in bed in the middle of the night and I can't calm my thoughts down. Those are the things that I do.
I really I like both of those. And the beauty and gift that comes with nature is tremendous. That fresh air, that deep breath, that glory that surrounds us.
Yeah.
And even the mindfulness of being outside and taking that time to, notice the flowers or hear the birds. And again, I think
Right.
you said it beautifully about just changing the patterns of what we're thinking, but you also touched on briefly at the beginning, we can't fix these things, so, but what we can do is control the way we try to show up for them,
Right.
or foster, nurture how we can show up for them, to, come with calm, with breath, slowing down. And and I think that was a big message woven throughout our entire weekend was, this isn't about fixing.
Right.
I
Even though we
wish
wanted to,
right.
we
Right.
want to,
We
that
want
doesn't
to.
matter.
Yeah, and again, everybody's experiences are so different. And what I always love to impress is if it is important to you, and if it lands on your heart, then it's an important issue. It's a challenge that is near and dear. And so while we can't fix any of it, we can
Right.
begin to embrace ways of how we can carry it,
Right.
or maybe how we can carry it and feel stronger or more equipped. And those, just even those simple tools to help just quiet
Right.
the reel that we have going on is tremendous.
Well, I think caregivers, they're in the space of just pouring, pouring, pouring into others all day, all night, all the time.
Right.
And there's not really a lot of opportunity for them to quiet their mind. And so, well, it is amazing those that are able to take the step to step away to refill their cups. What are the things that they can do in the moment, in the heat of the moment in there that it serves them so they can continue their work of serving others?
Well, and that's why I'm so uh, just excited and focused and feel so intentional on this work is, I saw the need
Mm.
for support and tools far exceed one single weekend. And
Right.
so with the hope that that's what this podcast series can do, it be that thing that they can reach for in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
or hear your message of hope and light, of following the sun, finding the light again when maybe it feels like a really dark day, and begin to equip themselves and equip what the work that we can do that's literally at our fingertips also.
Yeah. And I think most people know, like intellectually, that there's things I can do, but I'm sorry, your logic center, your brain just isn't really fully engaged in the way because
Right.
emotions are so high and sometimes they've been in that way for such a long time. And so it has really taken I mean, we just need something that can help anchor us again, that reminder, whether it's
Mm.
the visual of the sunflower or if it's, hold on, and I'm going to go into my greenhouse or I want to feel my toes. So they don't need anything other than themselves. But fortunately, they don't have to do it all by themselves.
And that's the beautiful mission of Rooted Within is to be able to walk alongside of caregivers and walk alongside of parents and just extend that hand, uh, so they know they are not alone and you are not alone and what you are walking through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know, what was it that you personally saw within the room during our retreat? What did you see women experience or, uh, from start to finish of the retreat? What did you witness?
Mm, that's good. So much. That's I'm trying to sort it out and limit my list here a little bit. Um, I do think from the very beginning, there was this curiosity about like what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? But an openness for it. So not in a suspicious like, oh, is this going to help me or not? It was like, what are we doing? I'm really curious. I need it. And I thought I saw it shift to, oh my gosh. And we're either all in it together or I have people that are supporting me. I'm not in this room alone. I saw through the course of the weekend a lot of shoulders moving away from their ears, right? Right. Coming down. I saw so much compassion,
Mm.
not just for one another, but for self. And I thought that was really beautiful. I'm mentally running through the weekend here. Uh, there was a moment when we were all going to go outside for this walk in the woods. And there was a little bit of excitement because what's out in the woods? I'm excited to go see what's in there. And then it got real quiet. And people were able just to actually look around and see and what it looked like from the outside, because I'm not in people's heads. What it looked like from the outside is, oh my gosh, I am finally out of this mess for a moment and I'm soaking up the world. And there was a lot of passion around that. Oh my gosh, so many things. And then I saw this sense of, I don't know if relief is the right word. I just don't know a better word for it. Like at the end of the weekend, it was like gratitude and relief that I had this moment, this experience, this respite. And here I feel like I can get back in the ring again.
Mm.
That's, so that's what it looked like from where I stood.
Love that. Why do you feel spaces like that are important for?
Um, being a parent in just the most standard of circumstances, right, is still a really hard job, and your identity changes because it's so connected to them. And then you insert any other challenges that come along with that. And I think people get really lost of who they are. And so I think people need intentional time to step away. Sometimes it's to look in the mirror to like reorient themselves to themselves.
Often I have felt as though that quiet time can be very difficult.
Yes. It's scary out there in the quiet.
It's scary when we quiet the noise or when we don't plug in, and I think personally I saw a lot of beautiful moments with many of us experiencing that quiet, often for the very first time in a long time. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, and I know for me personally, when I walked through some really dark moments, the quiet really scared me. Like I didn't know what was going to happen in there if I was left alone to my own thoughts and feelings about things. So I just I kept myself super busy and just plugged in even deeper into wherever I was, whether it was caring for somebody else or
Oh.
uh, swirling the drain around, my own grief or whatever. And so creating an experience like this, that the quiet and the moments to be really internal, it was safe and it was protected and it was supported. And here's some tools to do it along the way. And if you can't close your eye, if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes during this one, don't do that. I mean, just do what you need.
Really,
Mm.
I love that. Do you find that, looking at the weekend and what we all experienced, and again, all of us coming in with different stories and different patterns and experiences, yet we all stepped into this with an openness to learn,
Mhm.
yet also to step into it in such a way that felt comfortable for us. So not necessarily a 0 to 180 abrupt shift,
Right.
but almost more as though pushing a door open to start experiencing maybe some new new ways to embrace life or embrace the challenges or embrace
Mhm.
the hard times. Did you find that for yourself with some of the things that we did at the retreat or the walking
Yeah.
in the woods? Did you find that to be a little uncomfortable at first and then you leaned into it, or was it oh, I need to take this home with me and maybe practice it a little differently?
Ah, I would say mostly for me personally, the experiences that we did that had us like this is when we were indoors, not outdoors. We are indoors and we were doing either yoga or we were doing the sound experiences and the breathing exercises. At first, I was like, I don't know how this all works, but I'm gonna do it. I was super open to it, but I thought, I don't know. And then innately, I wonder, is everybody okay? But then my mind just completely quieted, and you could just feel it in the room. Like when I'm thinking from the beginning of the weekend to the end of the weekend. Every time we went into those experiences, it felt like we went in a little deeper, and it was safe to do it. I think people had relaxed, like, this is what I need. I can recall a couple people I think might have fell asleep during those, and I thought, "Oh, thank goodness they finally had this sense of rest." Their bodies and their heartbeats and everything were able to relax a little bit more, and they obviously felt comfortable enough to get into that zone.
Well, and that's that whole nervous system reset,
Yes.
where we can bypass what we have going on at
Right.
here during the, Candlelight Sound Sanctuary, which was just so peaceful. And, being
Yes.
able to get past what we are so comfortable doing, and that
Yeah.
is keeping our mind going and going and going, and truly be able to slow our breath and find that peace. And, uh, I think personally, what I'd love to see is no experience necessary, right? We can step into this and, whether you've ever been on a yoga mat before or have
Right.
stretched before or, have found your breath before intentionally, everybody came in where they currently were. And I thought that was a beautiful to witness
Yeah.
within those women in the room.
It felt very safe
Mhm.
for people to experiment and do it in the way that worked for them if they chose to.
Right.
And I thought that that was an incredibly important part of this because sometimes when we let down our guard a tiny bit, it's a little scary because what will happen when I do that? And so I think there was just this safety net from the experience to the facilitators to everybody in the room together. It just felt like we kind of had linked arms around these beautiful humans
Mm.
throughout their entire experience.
One thing I really noticed that I thought was so special, whether, within a retreat or outside of the retreat, is being able to find that community
Mm.
where people just know and understand where you've been, where you're coming from, what you've walked through without really needing to even say words, to be honest.
Yes.
There's just that known understanding. And, I find that whether it's within a retreat weekend or spending time with people who have just walked through hard things,
Yeah.
there is a comfort and there's a safety that comes finding your community, finding your people who understand or who may be walking a parallel path with you.
Right. Whether they're ahead of you on the path or behind you on the path or side by
Yes,
side.
exactly.
Oh, it was so beautiful to see that. And some people
Mhm.
shared more of their stories than others. And that was beautiful and just perfect.
Right. What would when you are working with somebody, let's say in within your circle, what would you how would you guide them to rediscovering their own strength?
Mm.
What would that look like? What would that conversation look like?
It would,
To introduce yourself to you, basically,
yeah.
after a storm or after a challenge or after climbing a mountain. Yeah, what does rediscovering your own strength look like?
I try, when I'm thinking about even like some of my clients that I work with that things come up, I try to I try to bring in, first of all, a bunch of curiosity first to demonstrate what it looks like when somebody is curious about you. But then I try to get them curious about themselves. And so anything I can do that can create a reflection, whether it's they want a worksheet with some like curiosity questions they might want to consider. Some people need that so they can have a more directed path. Or I ask them like, what do you want to know about yourselves? And I try to get them into reflection. And it's not always comfortable to do that or and put it on the calendar because if I don't like for in my world, sometimes those simple things, if they don't make it on my calendar to do it, I'm not going to do it. So I have to block out a time that's going to be for nothing other than that. So I try to guide them to like, where can you find the time to really get curious about yourself in there? Uh, and if you were to measure your level of curiosity right now, what is it like on a scale of 1 to 10? How curious are you about how you're feeling, what your future looks like, what your goals are, your what's next? And sometimes people will say, like, my curiosity is like a 1 or 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 because I'm so focused on others. I'm like, well, what will it take to get you from a 1 to 2 to a 3 or a 4? And try to incrementally bring that up.
I love that piece of it because it's baby steps.
Yeah, we're not going to get you to a 10.
Oh,
Mhm.
and that's anything, and in my personal opinion, that we look at in life that is attainable and sustainable
Right.
and can help us feel as though we're moving forward versus staying stalled
Yeah.
are those real small baby steps, those
Yeah.
small victories that you can pay attention to and celebrate and capture and find the joy. I
Yeah.
love I love your joy challenge. Would you mind sharing just a little bit because it's just so it it comes with such a light regardless of what your days look
Yeah.
like. And
Right.
I would love you if you're open to it
Yeah.
sharing what you do at least 100 days of the year because
It's- so the backstory that kind of was folded in there, but it's truly kind of how my journey has been over the last several years with it is a number of years, 12 years ago specifically. My oldest daughter had moved away and all the way up to Alaska. And when she was there for a few weeks, she got really, really homesick. And she called me one day and wanted me to do this challenge she read about on the internet somewhere where you post every day for 100 days, something that made you happy that day. And I thought that was a ridiculous thing to do. I mean, 100 days in a row, that seems like a lot. And, but she wanted me to do it with her, so I did. And so every day for 100 days, I would think about my day, which was teaching me how to reflect. Didn't know it at the time. So I revisit my days, and some days it was super easy. Like my husband brought me flowers. My coffee was, somebody brought me coffee. Like there was a birthday party, like those events, those external things, super easy. And I'd be all excited to go post my happiness. And then there's the other days that you're like, well, it was just a lather, rinse, repeat kind of day. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. It was just a day. But I'd be like, hold on, where did you find a little bit of joy or gratitude? I'd say, oh, that's right. That person stepped on my desk who told me that joke, and it was really funny. And so there it was. And then there's the dark days, right? It's the dark of the night. And you do not feel anything that resembles joy, gratitude, happiness. And in fact, it seems really rude that I'm looking for that in the darkness. And what I found was it was always an internal job at that point. And one of them, might be like, oh my gosh, I'm really grateful. Sometimes I couldn't use the word happy. I'm really grateful that this happened, or I saw this, or my cat purred extra loud by my ear and it soothed my heartbeat a little bit. And so those little moments. And so I ended up doing it for 100 days, was super happy about this practice. And then when it showed up in my Facebook memories again the next year, I thought, well, maybe I need it again. And I've done it every year for 12 years because maybe I'm a slow learner, but I need the reminder every single year of how to do it. And for me, it is my quote forced reflection time on many days, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this practice. And I think it's the habit of training your brain to what you're looking for. Is it like it's spring right now? It is. To me, I'm like, it is so easy to look outside and like, oh my gosh, that flower is blooming. And that can be in the middle of a poop storm, right? Of a world that's going on around you where you don't feel happy, but you can recognize the beauty in that blooming flower.
Well, and I think it's such a beautiful practice of trusting our walk and understanding never, never arrive, right? We are in constant motion of learning and acceptance and growth. And okay, I'm feeling a little off. How can I go within
Yeah.
and try to bring that balance back in life, whether things are
Yeah.
going swimmingly well or whether we're in the thick of it or we're, during those dark days, we have that opportunity to just find even the smallest of
Yeah.
things that can bring peace to our heart, joy in our heart. And I think it's just such a beautiful example. I love that you've done this for 12 years. A lot of a
I'm
lot of
at
days.
for this year, I'm at day 50 right now. So
Okay.
150 days intentionally posted. There's always this lingering effect that, I mean, at day 101, it's not like I'm like, okay, I'm not looking for gratitude anymore.
But you're recreating
Yes.
your steps, your daily steps,
Yes.
and seeking to find those things again, even regardless of what's going on in life. And that's
Yeah.
this awareness piece, right?
Yeah. A pivotal moment in that whole experience for me was, and I shared it at the retreat, was I was in the middle of grieving somebody who I lost that I just really loved. And I was really sad. And I'm sitting there thinking about this stupid happy day challenge that I'm supposed to post about, and I don't feel anything close to happy. And I was just kind of wondering how I was going to handle that. So I sat there and I closed my eyes, and I could still hear this person's laugh in my head. I could still imagine it. And I just remember thinking, there it is. I'm so grateful that when I close my eyes, I can still hear her laugh. And that doesn't mean that I'm sugarcoating this loss. This is that and thing I mentioned. I can feel loss and grief and sadness and extreme gratitude for the laughter that I can hear in my head. And so I shared that in there because that was like a pivotal point that has kept me doing this for 12 years running so far.
That is so beautiful and inspirational.
Mm.
And I know I enjoy seeing what makes you happy. And again, what we see and what we think about, we can truly internalize and feel. And so just that joy that you're bringing to so many people is really true. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
We
It is a
just
delight to
I'm
share that space. It's such a
well,
work, and I love it.
I am curious to for today, what brings you joy today on this early Saturday morning out there in the Pacific West, outside of that beautiful blue sky that's hopefully popping for you.
And there's a few clouds out there, but it's coming through. Today what brings me joy. I'm a water baby. Like I love all things water. And this time of year is too chilly to go out in a river or lake or anything like that. I'm not that crazy. But I have a swim class today and I love being in the water. I love the movement in the water. And I somehow have created this, not created, but joined this amazing community of women that also love it too. So being around that. So I have the social part, the connection. So that's what's bringing me joy today to know that that is on my calendar of things to do today.
I love that. I hope you have a great time.
Oh, I will. I will.
I hope you will. I have no doubt. Just because I want to have our guests draw upon just your walk and your experience and what you bring to others. If you were, if a guest was listening right now and you wanted to give them permission, what would you want them to hear from you? In the sense that if you feel as though they're reserved about moving forward on something, or they're reserved to look within to do the work, what kind of message would you want them to walk away with today?
Deep question. Well, one of them is on the permission piece specifically, Vicky, is I think we think that we need permission to take care of ourselves. And if you're waiting for it externally, like if I had a magic wand or you had a magic wand, let's wave it and say permission granted.
Mhm. I would.
But if we don't have that, I think it's more important to know that we really we do have permission to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others and ourselves. It's not an or. And I think it's a really important gift. It is a really hard road. Nobody needs to do it alone. And it's a very lonely road. And I would love people to know that you do have permission and you are worthy of care. That's really what I want people to know. And then bringing in curiosity too is what do you need for that permission? Like, is that something we can help you with? Or is it an inside job? But like, let me help you remove your beliefs that you do not deserve this.
Oh, good. Thank you. I think about as caregivers and, especially in that role of working with our children as a parent, of course, we lit up and we put our children first and our family first.
Mhm.
And slowly over time, we start falling to the bottom of that list.
Right. Lose ourselves.
We lose ourselves. And I know I can speak from personal experience, and I know you can as well, what that looks like. And it I often say it often comes with the role we walk as a parent. And none of us would do anything different other than lift up our children and take care of those needs, and then our family and siblings. Yet over time, when we start falling to the bottom of our to-do list, it's hard to show up as fully as we can,
100%.
or as strong as we can, or stable and calm and peace to carry the troops through that situation. And so that's why I think so many of the tools you shared with us today, and insights about things, small things that we can do
Yeah.
to bring that peace and calm back into our world. So in fact, we can show up as a stronger mom
Yeah.
or a stronger caregiver, and
Mm.
and able to walk through the storms and maybe bend a little bit, but not break because we've run
Right.
those roots deep. And so, yes, in fact, it's an opportunity for us to walk even stronger
Right.
and more equipped as a parent, which then flows into our family,
Yes.
and that flows into our community because we're able to be standing strong again. And so those messages and those snippets that you shared are just so beautiful,
Mhm.
and so attainable for us to reach for on those dark nights or those
Yeah.
dark days.
Um, I think that the very people that we're caring for really deserve us. And sometimes all they get is what's left because there's just not much left. And then we also put ourselves also at the bottom of the pile too. Like, well, I gave what was left over here. Now it's time for me and I don't have anything left. Let's not get our tanks to so empty that that's harder to recover from. Like, let's keep something in the tank.
I love that. And, you know, when you fast forward it 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
20 years down the road, it also becomes such a teachable moment for our kids to be able to reflect back on when we were in the storm, right? Or
Right.
when we're climbing that mountain that seemed endless. Uh, and I think it serves as such a beautiful lived experience and also example, because again, we know it's hard to get through this life without some hiccups, or without some hills to climb. But what a beautiful way for our kids to witness and learn other than watching us ourselves.
Right. If they see you caring for yourselves, you've set the example for them to care for themselves, in the ways that they can and as they grow and learn. You're right. It's a great example.
Well, and I love thinking of just, I visualized right next to your greenhouse. I visualized this beautiful foundation that is rock solid.
Mm.
Over time, we have learned what we need, and it's different for all of us, right? For some of us, it might be trying to find new colors at night. For others, it might be, that deep cleansing breath. For others, it might be the walk outside, or maybe a combination of all of it. But with life and with experiences and challenges, we learn to just build this beautiful foundation
Yeah.
that becomes rock solid. So when we fall down, we're able to maybe stand up a little bit quicker, uh, or we're maybe able to bend and not break in the storms. And I know personally with me, it was a lot of challenges and medical complexities I walked through with my children for decades. And with each one, I was becoming more and more equipped.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen right away. But I think what an opportunity we also have to help others start creating that platform without all the skinned knees,
Yeah.
you know, but to begin having that platform that's solid
Yeah.
so you know where to reach.
Yes. And building the habits, right?
Mhm.
But you can't build a habit if you don't know how that tool works.
Like, yes,
I
yes.
think it's a great ground to start that process of doing things again intentionally, where we can. And it's accessible. Like it's almost always in here, but sometimes we need a reintroduction to
Right.
ourselves.
I love that. Your message is so beautiful, as are you.
Yeah.
You're so right. And as you know, the first time I met you, I thought I need her in my life. I want to know her, and now I know why, because you carry such wisdom
Oh,
and,
thank you.
and knowledge, and again, real life, real people, real life, and how can we walk it well?
Yeah. Well, and I already told you before that when I first met you, one of the first things I said was, "You are a light bulb." And I said, "This is so weird. I've never said this to anybody before." But the light that you carry, and I'm like, I want to be in with that light. And so, just super honor. You're doing amazing work out there and making a difference for people that really are hungry and deserving.
Thank you. Well, if we can together as a community be that one place where people can reach for
Mm.
to just equip themselves and find a little bit of peace and a little bit of joy to help them walk through that exact day and not worry about tomorrow and not worry about next week, but today, then I will consider this was a job well done. And you have just been able to help build that and offer with such a beautiful uh, reset for people. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I love you so much, Vicky.
I love you too. I hope you have fun in the washer today. There's something about conversations like this. They don't just stay here, they go with you. I am so grateful for Debbie and for the way she reminds us that joy and real life can exist together. If something in this conversation resonated, please stay close. This is why Rooted Within exists, to give you space to come back to yourself, even in the middle of it all.